Hello and welcome back to the Early Bar Football Podcast. It's a Sunday special, Super Sunday special with the boys today. Chris is here with me. Hello, Chris. How's it going? And how's your weekend been?
Weekend's been quite an eventful one, not going to lie.
Oh, yeah.
I won't elaborate into too much detail, but
Oh, no.
Obviously not a good
responsibly.
Now you're a mate.
Not a good one football-wise. Like, obviously, Arsenal losing 4-0 against Liverpool. Obviously, Oxford game getting called off as well due to
Terrible
7
that
COVID
was.
cases. I mean, obviously, hopefully, wish the players a speedy recovery. It was quite interesting because one of my mates that I went to college with, he travelled up to the game, and instead of going, but thing is, made a day out of it. Instead of going to watch, obviously, Wigan v Oxford, he went to Preston versus Cardiff instead.
Is that a better game? Is that a better game or not?
Apparently, he did say it was a pretty good game. Cardiff won 2-1.
Okay,
interesting. And in terms of my local football, we lost 5-2 in that. So
we don't have to talk about that.
I got an assist, but just like the Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania, my goal scoring streak is over.
Oh, that's a shame. That really is. And what a downer to start the pod on. I'm so sorry, Chris.
The Undertaker's also got a way longer streak. You scored like 2 games in a row. The Undertaker won
comparing yourself to
like
the Undertaker.
19 times. Or something like that.
Wasn't he 21-0 or something? I vaguely remember. Vaguely.
He was, and then Brock Lesnar come along.
Classic. You've heard the sultry tones of Ash Barnes. Hello, welcome to today's podcast, Ash.
Good evening. How are you, Tang? You all right?
Well, very well. I've had a great day today. Watched some superb Formula One, but we're not here to talk about Formula One. Sadly. How about you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, I'd like to say I watched the game before the Man City Everton game, but I may have also been watching the F1. But yeah, it's been a good weekend. I feel vindicated in a Norwich win and an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacking in one weekend.
Wow,
so.
You have completely just hijacked. Or is this a nice segue into our first segment today? Yeah, it's a nice. But first, lads, I don't know if you've seen the little ticker below, but we are currently on 52 subscribers. We have smashed through the 50 subscriber goal that we have. So 52 subscribers, that's huge. Claps in the chat.
Who was on number 50?
Who knows?
Didn't we offer them a prize of
a
really crap prize that no one would want?
I think it's a packet paella. I think that's
we did offer a packet paella.
Still on offer. Come forward. If you're
is it still on offer? That's the main thing.
I'll buy the 50th subscriber a packet
Fantastic.
paella.
So if 50th subscriber, if you can prove you are the 50th subscriber, then please come forward on socials or on whatever, or in person. Just like sort of jump out at us in person and just be like 50, and then we'll know who it is. So yeah, now the goal is 75, which seems very far away at the minute. But as soon as we hit into the 60s, the 70s will come quickly. But no, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about the little things. Let's talk about the big thing this weekend, which was today finding out that Ole isn't going to Solskjaer anymore at Man United because he was sacked today. Was it sacked? Was it sacked or was it has left the club or has resigned? I can't actually remember. I have the tweet up here actually, but I don't actually know because sometimes the wording's given a bit more. What's the word?
Yeah, I think they did word it as he's left the club, but
it left the club wasn't so harsh.
Yeah.
Bless Ollie. And as a podcast who we do care for managers in the Premier League, it's a very stressful job. We are very worried for Steve Bruce, and now he's gone. Say he's gone, like he's passed away, but he has now left the Premier League. Ollie is just another.
Funny thing on Steve Bruce, just to cut in, is that he was spotted on. He was actually spotted on holiday, and guess who he met on holiday?
I literally have no idea.
He met his former Birmingham City striker Mikel Forsell.
Guess it. How are we going to guess that?
How are we ever going to guess that?
Anyone? Mikel Forsell. Yeah. Okay. How did I get that?
Wow. Wowee. I can't believe that wasn't the first person that came to my mind. I'm so sorry, Chris.
That's all right.
Oh, well. But Chris, Ollie got sacked after United lost 4-1 at Vicarage Road yesterday. I don't want to say, I don't want to ask you, has it been a long time coming or whatever, because I feel like we've completely, or does he deserve to be sacked? I feel we've completely ringed out that topic, but does he deserve to be sacked?
Yes, he does deserve to be sacked, but he should have been sacked weeks ago. He should have been sacked after that Liverpool game. What was that, 4 weeks ago? That it was honestly one of the worst performances like Man United produced at that point, to be fair. And then obviously they put in the shocking performance against City, and then the performance yesterday, my goodness, that was terrible.
Terrible, wasn't it?
It was absolutely terrible. And Harry Maguire just made an absolute clown out of himself yesterday. I mean, obviously he's doing the old ears celebration against Albania.
We still have the segment. I still have the segment from last week on, and it is Maguire silences critics, which I was going to bring up, but you've brought up very smoothly there. Come on. What is Harry Maguire doing there?
Yeah. And another more embarrassing thing for Manchester United yesterday as well is that you actually look at Watford's starting 11 and their spine was all Man United academy players. You had Foster, the goalkeeper, Cathcart, centre-back, Tom Cleverley, midfielder, and obviously Josh King up front. So I think that just rubbed a lot more salt into the wound.
A bit of sweet irony.
Yeah. And speaking of sweet irony, it was a bit ironic that Donny van de Beek was the final player to score for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for Manchester United as well.
A small price to pay for salvation, that is, Chris.
It is, as a famous villain in the MCU once said.
Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, exactly. He's massive villain.
He's the
Mourinho.
villain. He's not the
villain. And that, but in terms of after you just look at the structure at Manchester United, it's not just Ollie that should shoulder the blame. It should first and foremost, the players as well. They should shoulder the blame. And in fair enough, Fernandez did sort of say to the fans yesterday, "Don't boo Ollie. We all deserve to be booed as well." And that the players, like I've already mentioned, Maguire, Lindelof for the third goal, shocking as a centre back. The first thing you need to do is throw your body against the ball, not worrying about giving away a penalty by putting your hands behind your back. No, you stop the shot more than anything. And that players need to take blame. The coaches as well, the coaching staff, which I find absolutely baffling that they've given Michael Carrick 2 games in charge, and apparently Michael Carrick turned around and said, "Oh yeah, I want to keep McKenna and Mike Phelan as well." It's like, well, they're equally part of the problem. They're the guys that were still coaching this team alongside Ollie. Why have you allowed? They should have said, "No, sorry, you guys need to go as well." I mean, Michael Carrick's been in there longer. He was there under Mourinho as well.
Yeah.
So it obviously goes to show that Michael Carrick's not a good enough coach for Manchester United. And then, of course, the board they just don't really care. All they see is Man United is, we can make a lot of money out of them. I mean, I find it embarrassing that, one, they're keeping the same coaches, and two, they're not even going to bring in a permanent manager after these 2 coaches. They're going to bring in an interim till the end of the season. It's kind of like, well, you're going back to square one. If that interim does well, like Solskjaer did, to be fair, Solskjaer did do well in his interim period and probably did deserve to get the Manchester United job. And in fairness to Ollie, he did get, back-to-back Champions League football, Manchester United, just bigger games and obviously cup games. That just wasn't good enough under him. But Manchester United need to get a coach in right now to start implementing his style of football onto them. And I just find it baffling because what is it? You're just going to get an interim, and then in the summer, that's when we're going to get either a Zidane, or that's when we're going to try and get Pochettino away from PSG. That's when we're going to try and go in hard for Ten Hag to prize him away from Ajax. It's like it's just going to be more cycles of unnecessary new managers than that. So, as much as Ollie deserved to be sacked, there should have been a plan in place. It's absolutely shambolic for a club like Manchester United to be run by a bunch of clowns, to be honest.
Yeah. Barnes, I'll ask both of you the question of who United get in next afterwards. But Barnes, I think Ollie, Chris has sort of mentioned that there. He should have got sacked weeks ago. The loss to Liverpool could have been the final straw. Personally, I feel with that, I think it's tough, but I think you can get away with a big loss against Liverpool. I would say they're a super team. You know, them and City, especially in the Premier League. I think you can get away with losing big to those teams, but I just don't think you can get away with losing 4-1 to Watford. Is that something you agree with? Is that why that was the final straw on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back?
I think Ollie's had about 10 final straws. He keeps picking them out as another final straw. I don't know how he wasn't sacked after Liverpool. I don't know how he wasn't sacked earlier in the season. I think if you look back in hindsight, and Chris mentioned the predicament they're in now of, who can we get in? You kind of think that ideally they could have let him go at the end of last season. Now I know they finished quite strongly and ended up finishing second, but in reality they didn't really mount a title charge, and they weren't. I think Ollie peaked in that he took them to as far as he could take them, and he did genuinely. I think most people consider a good job last year. I know he lost in the Europa League final, and so it had some disappointing results in semi-finals and things like that. But ultimately, he got them to second. He's not an elite manager. If you don't know that by now, then you should. And I think they had that opportunity to then say, look, Ollie has taken us as far as he can. Well done, Ollie. Go out on a high. You finished second. Now let's plan for the future and get a new coach in, someone like a Pochettino, and try and prize him away from PSG, or a Ten Hag, or some of the other names that Chris has mentioned. And I just think this season, the only way was down. I mean, I know they brought in Ronaldo, they brought in Sancho, who are clearly excellent players. But once you've hit your ceiling, as Ollie did, I think, last season, the only way is down. Like he could physically not take those players or that squad to the next level. And I think, therefore, they just sort of stagnated. And then once they got onto a bad run, you lose confidence. The press gets on your back. Ollie outcalls get bigger and bigger and bigger. Even Ollie starts to lose confidence in what he's doing. He changes his formation. And, you get this sort of like rolling bad news, negative story. And eventually, it has to crack at some point, right? Like you said, I've said before, he's had so many last draws, and it had to end at some point. It was running out of weeks. It was
only going to end this way, right?
Exactly. But that's the stupid thing. The board, like Chris said, it was only going to end this way. And surely after that Liverpool result, or even weeks before that, when they were playing so poorly and getting away with it in games like the West Ham game, I think the Atlanta game, where they sort of scraped lucky wins, that's the time then to think, right, these coaches, Ollie, need to go. All right, we can't sack them right now because we don't have anyone lined up. But when we do sack them, we will then have someone we can bring in. And they don't have that. It makes absolutely no sense. They have. It's almost like, suddenly, I think we should probably sack Ollie. It turns out he's actually not very good. Look at where we are at the table. Let's get rid of him. And then, well, who's going to manage the team? Carrick will do it. It'll be all right. He's a good manager. Why Carrick? Who's he managed? What's he done? The only thing he's done, as far as I can see, is been around where Manchester United have probably been in their worst ever period. Yeah, they're keeping him on, and McKenna and Mike Phelan as well. I don't get it. They should have had someone lined up, but I'm interested to see what you boys think. Who should be the next manager? Because I sort of disagree with Chris in that they kind of have to get an interim. Like, what manager could they actually get at the moment for a long-term appointment? Other than, I would say Ten Hag would be a good shout, but other than him, who is realistically available that they could get long-term? I bet maybe Zidane, but personally, I don't feel that'd be a good appointment. But he is available, so other people have their opinions on that. But I don't know what you boys think.
Let's open up this discussion, because I've seen Den Haag sort of been linked with United. Poch as well. They're going to prize away Poch at the end of the season from PSG. But would Poch leave? I don't know. He's what, 10 points clear in League 1 at the minute. So and he's probably going to win a trophy for the first time. I don't know whether he'd leave that. Let's see, Zidane. I saw an article, a completely wild article, that Zidane would have problems with language issues in the Premier League, according to, I think it was Michael Owen, which I found absolutely outrageous, by the way. I don't know what's going through his head. Obviously, there's Ralph Rangnick. I probably pronounced that terribly, but he's the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow, of all places. He used to manage RB Leipzig, obviously, and something here, he helped shape the Gegenpressing, according to Wikipedia, which is huge. So he's been linked, and also I saw an article where Ronaldo wants Luis Enrique, the current is he the current Spain boss?
He is. The current
He
Spain boss.
is, but do you not see what Enrique said? Enrique just completely rubbished the claim, saying, I didn't realise this was April Fool's Day." Pretty much.
Oh, well, okay. Listen, Ronaldo's talking out of his backside there, or whatever backside is in Portuguese. But there's a lot of names that United fans are going to be seeing over social media over the next few days. Personally, the whole Michael Carrick thing is completely wild, because it's sort of like, the manager that we hired, who was a former player, didn't work out for us, so let's sack him and let's get in a former player to manage us for the. If Michael Carrick wins his 2 interim games 5-0 each, I can see him getting the job for maybe like 10 games or something. He'll probably win all those 10 games, and then I can see him being the rest of the season, and then they'll be like, United have finished second in the league, and Michael Carrick hasn't lost a game. They haven't conceded a goal all season. Then they'll give the contract to Michael Carrick, and I can see something like that happening, where
Carrick's
they just
at the wheel.
Carrick's at the wheel, or whatever transportation object, steering object. The rudder, maybe. I don't know, because it's a boat. It's a boat for Michael Carrick or something. But Chris, who do you think? Because I think Barnes is right. They want to get an interim coach, don't they? Let's look to that. Who do you think the interim coach is? If anyone's in the chat and thinks who could be this interim coach for United, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Who's interim coach, Chris? And more long term, who do you think actually could be a long term United coach? Is it this interim coach that will just go on a good run and then end up getting it, or do you think they'll keep to their word and get someone for this season and then look for someone in the future in the summer?
Well, one name that I've seen come up as interim coach was a name I haven't seen for a very long time. Is Laurent
Steve
Blanc.
Bruce?
No, it's Laurent Blanc.
Laurent Blanc.
And again, obviously, he pretty much fits the mold that you said, former Manchester United player.
Oh, God.
And that's the thing. Like, you can obviously see if either Carrick or this interim coach, who personally I do think it will be someone like Laurent Blanc, like I said, former Manchester United player. Obviously, he's got managerial experience. He's managed Bordeaux and France. Too far, I don't know if he's had a job since he left the French national team job, and that. So he has been out of the game for a while, not unless he's managed somewhere else and obviously haven't known about it. But that's the thing, like, if this interim coach obviously starts to get something out of these players and that, and Manchester United start picking up results, and not even results, start picking up performances, because that's what we saw when Solskjaer came in as interim manager, when they sacked Mourinho,
the new manager ago. Bounce.
Yeah, they had that.
The NMB.
Exactly. They had that, and Ollie was in their interim until March, and then obviously there was the infamous Rio Ferdinand on BT Sport, get the contract down. Ollie's at the
rinsed.
wheel. Yeah, it has
been rinsed this week, hasn't it?
It has been absolutely rinsed in that. But like, that's the thing. You could see like the interim manager, who personally I do think they will go for someone like Laurent Blanc. In terms of long term, another interesting name that's been flying about is Julian Lopetegui as well, the Sevilla manager. And it's quite interesting because the Manchester United fans aren't too happy about that. They're like, oh no, like Lopetegui, like, he isn't like elite. He isn't someone like a Zidane, Pochettino, or Ten Hag. I mean,
can United really go for elite though? I know they're Man United. I know they've got great players, but do you think they can tempt a world class / even more elite manager to a Conte, etc.? Do you think they can get someone in?
Well, that's the thing. Like, these elite managers, they'll look at the structure at Manchester United, and they'll also see what's happened to managers like Van Gaal and Mourinho, that experience. And you could say in their heyday they were elite managers, and obviously you could say they're, like, when they joined Manchester United, they were going on a bit of a downward, spiral in their managerial careers, if you will. But you just look at that structure in Manchester United and go, do I really want to join like this? I could like join another project and try and build, because like, that's the thing. Like, with the board, with the Glazers, it's almost a battle to get like any transfers done with them, and because Mourinho kept saying it, it's like, oh, I want to sign this player, but I'm not allowed to, sign anyone or spend the money on the players that I want to bring in at Manchester United.
It's a sorry state of affairs in a way that the Man United job, especially with the legacy that Ferguson built as like a huge club, probably the biggest club in the world. And now there are people that it should be a no-brainer that you take it, right? If you're a manager, if United come calling, you go. That is one of those things, even as a player as well. The fact that United have gone to a stage where you sort of go, maybe I shouldn't go because of X, Y, Z, I think that's the most alarming thing. I think for a United fan, that's the most alarming thing, that your club isn't as appealing as it has been in the last maybe 20, maybe even like 25 years, you could argue. Quite a long time they've been at the top, and now just not.
Yeah, well, I mean, it pains me to say this, being a part-time Arsenal fan, but Manchester United are pretty much becoming Arsenal 2.0 in the sense that they're not winning anything major. They haven't won a major trophy since 2017. Obviously, Arsenal went on that long run where they didn't win any major trophies, and I can generally see players seeing Manchester United as a stepping stone club. It's like, well, I can go on to bigger and better things. I mean, you could argue Paul Pogba's doing that now, and that Paul Pogba might see, well, I want to get out of this mess, because that's another thing. Like, what's an interim manager going to do to convince Paul Pogba? Paul Pogba just sit around and go, well, you're not going to be here next year, are you? Well, there's a good chance you're not going to be next year, because the interim manager might be there, like I said, if he starts doing well and that. But yeah, it's honestly a tricky one. I mean, as for who they're going to get in, I think they will look to someone like a Ten Hag, just like obviously established style of football. And not only that, like maybe like if they get Ten Hag, then maybe they can get someone like an Edwin van der Sar in the background as well, to help oversee everything at the club. And I think they do need a massive reshuffle, like when it comes to the upper management at Manchester United, because from a neutral looking on the outside, it just looks like an absolute mess. It looks like an absolute mess. And like I said, like Man U are close to becoming Arsenal 2.0. Like Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, they're leaving them in the dust. In terms of how far the club's going that. And you've got other clubs in the Premier League. I mean, Arsenal, they're sort of all right. They didn't do well yesterday, but they're still going through a good rebuilding period and that. And that's the thing. Like it makes the race for the fourth spot, if you will, like interesting, because you got so many clubs that can get there. Obviously, Tottenham. Now they've got that's another thing. Like if Man U sacked Solskjaer weeks ago, they could have got Antonio Conte.
Yeah, they could have
as well. I mean, Spurs board and director of football, they've obviously convinced Conte. There is something going to happen at Spurs, and like Manchester United could have easily got Conte, but obviously they left it too late to get him. And yeah, it's just too fair. It's a difficult one because it's like I said, you look at manager from the outside, it's like, well, why did I go to Manchester United? Other jobs actually looking at it. All right, yes, Manchester United, big club, but other jobs, projects more lucrative in the long run. And that's the thing.
Definitely.
Like if you don't do well at Manchester United short run, you could be out of a job. So
you could be.
Yeah.
Barnes, I think I know Owen's been very skeptical of Zinedine Zidane in the past. He's not the greatest style of football. He's not skeptical in terms of Michael Owen. He's going to have language issues, which is completely preposterous, by the way. Again, I'll say that. But Owen's, in terms of tactical nous from Zidane, Owen said he kind of plays like a boring style of football. I'm not too familiar with. I don't watch La Liga week in, week out when Zidane was managing Real Madrid, obviously. But who do you think United, the two managers that they're sort of looking for, this interim, this sort of long-term coach, who do you reckon they could get in? And do you think they could be, there's been a lot of names that have been touted from abroad mainly, but do you think there's anyone in the Premier League that might be sort of interested, could be intrigued?
I think everyone or the majority of managers at non-top six clubs, Manchester United could easily pull. And you're saying why would you want to go to Manchester United if you're an elite manager? And they got a lot of money. That's why you want to go there, and they've got great players. So I think it's quite a good place. And as also they have a board who, let's be honest, have no real expectation for this season anymore. or at least they shouldn't do, because just finishing top 4, given how many games they've already lost this season, might be a challenge. So I think the manager coming in actually has quite a nice situation where you've got good players. You've already played some of the hard fixtures this half of the season, so you've probably got some good games coming up. So I don't think it's the worst situation to walk into. As I said, you're going to get paid loads of money to do it. In terms of who who should come in, I think interim is really interesting, because when I think interim manager, I think the likes of like Gus Hiddink, the classic interim manager.
Di Matteo.
I always think an old. I was going to say like an old
an
sort of
older
experienced head who sort of comes in there,
Are you saying
steadies the
Steve
ship.
Bruce?
He does have the Manchester United DNA, which that is the special.
The
ingredient
checklist
you need
is former United player, isn't it?
You have to be a former
Knows
United
the club,
player.
the United way of playing.
I'm gonna get Cantona in, Roy Keane.
Yeah, what former Man United players can we name that might be in? Kleberson.
Cleberson, bring him in.
Bring him
Fred
in.
Eric
player
Jemba.
But being serious, I think a few names that I'd pick out would be that maybe Chris didn't mention, and I've not seen this anywhere. I'm just sort of making this up, but I'd say potentially Fernando Santos, the current Portugal manager, or maybe soon not to be Portugal manager. It's been well sort of known they failed to get straight to the World Cup and they got to go through the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he said, if we do not get to the World Cup, I will leave. And we know obviously he won the Euros in, was it 2016?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he has a great relationship with Ronaldo, regardless of the current
Bruno
situation,
Fernandes
obviously
as well,
being poor at Portugal, and obviously you got Bruno. So, and if reports in the media are to be believed, then Ronaldo and Bruno have a lot of influence at the club. I know Chris mentioned about, or was it you mentioned, Tang, about Ronaldo, picking out Enrique as a potential manager. That even that story has even come out shows the amount of influence Ronaldo had. I think maybe having someone that Ronaldo feels comfortable with and gets on and already understands would make for an easy transition. And it's also someone that could be very easily gettable. One, considering he might leave anyway, and that is the main reason. But I think that could be an interesting one. Other names, Didier Deschamps, possibly. Again, I'm just sort of thinking players that have, or managers that have good relationships with players that are already in the United squad. So obviously, you've got Pogba there, Varane. Ten Hag, again, I agree with Chris. I think he'd be a really good appointment, plays decent football. I think the Manchester United fans would appreciate that. Obviously, then you got the link with Donny van der Beek. And I think Chris makes a really good suggestion about Edwin van der Sar coming in sort of above Ten Hag if that was to happen. And that'd be a really interesting combination that would potentially move them forward. They've made Ajax a real force this season. And for a club that sells their best players consistently, that's not easy. I think they're absolutely smashing the Eredivisie as well. So it's not just a sort of Champions League sort of run that they're going on there on all fronts. They're doing really well. So there's a few managers. Last person I'm going to throw out now, Chris. I don't think you'll be happy with this. Arsene Wenger. The biennial World Cup, that's not going to happen. No one wants it, so that he's basically finished. On that campaign trail, he's free. He's not doing much. You might get him. He'll play good football.
Can you imagine?
What's not to like? Get him in for a year until you can get Pochettino from PSG once he gets bored of, the superstars at PSG pissing him off. But yeah, I genuinely think Wenger could be. It won't happen, but it'd be a fun one if it did.
That would be very fun.
To be fair, from a neutral point of view, that would be fun. And to be fair, obviously Wenger's track record. I mean, obviously the Manchester United board, all they want is to finish in the top 4 because that's how they get their money. And think about Wenger over the number of years at Arsenal, the amount of times he finished in the top 4 with squads even worse than the squad that Man United have got now. And that, to be fair, it's not a bad show. And I think I did see. Obviously, please gamble responsibly. But I think I did see he was on the odds list. I think he was 66 to 1.
Oh,
and outside shout.
Yeah, outsider. It's not one of them that you'd put money on, but you never know.
I've just tried going on William Hill on my work laptop because that's what I use to do the stream and stuff, and I wasn't allowed. It was blocked, so I'm not allowed to gamble at all, let alone responsibly. So that's my 2 cents on that. Barnes, I think that was a really interesting point on the managers of countries. Obviously, the World Cup's coming up soon. The playoffs are in March time, especially for Europe. I'm not sure what they are for everyone else, but whenever a World Cup qualification, sort of the group stage and the playoffs sort of come out, managers do leave their roles and stuff like that. So in terms of sequencing, if it's March time and Portugal don't get to the World Cup, manager leaves, and there's just a very interesting sort of future sackings or leavings of managers from relatively quite elite countries. I know there's some good managers that are in the playoffs as well, especially for the Euros. I'm not sure about I'm not really sure how the other countries really work. The other continental, I can't think of the word.
It's similar.
Regions.
They do pre-qualifying mostly. I think so. I think they do that in South America. So the smaller nations tend to be weeded out earlier on, and then it just works that you get I think 3 in each. I think there's 2 groups, maybe 3 get go through in each. Something like that. Anyway,
to be fair, I think South America is just like one massive league table. These are massive
they do 2 leagues. I'm pretty sure, or 1 league,
right,
something like that, don't they? A couple more points on this United thing I want to talk about.
Oh no, has he disappeared again?
Oh. Well, while Tang is losing his wife, I was gonna. Oh, he's back. You back, Tang?
Am I back? I think I'm back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
You're slightly delayed.
Oh, this is not good. How am I now?
You're all right now. To be fair,
you're all right. Yeah.
Okay, that's
fair. I think it'll come back. Keep going.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I wanted to talk about winners and losers in this United squad. As soon as a new manager comes in, players get picked again. Players get frozen out. Chris, if you're a United player, which ones are going to be happy that Ollie's gone? And what could it mean? What does it mean for players like Pogba, for Van der Beek, for Lingard, for even like Maguire? What does it mean for some of those players, especially those that weren't really getting a look in, or not? Do you think there's some players there that will really try and take their chance?
Oh, for players like Van der Beek and that, it's absolutely huge. It's a new manager comes in, it's a clean slate. Start over again, and show this new manager that actually I'm good enough to be not just a player for Manchester United, but to be a very good player for Manchester United and be an elite player for Manchester United. And in fairness, like the one positive that Manchester United fans could have taken away from yesterday was Donny van der Beek's performance. He was one of the players that, well, obviously he scored, but he was one of them players that was looking to get the ball forward quickly and then join in to help with the attack and that. So I think players like Van der Beek want to show, actually, I am an elite Manchester United player, and that. Obviously, with regards to Pogba and Lingard, it's interesting because it's kind of like if you bring in an interim manager, it's kind of like, well, not like I said earlier, it's like they might not be part of the club longer term themselves, like the interim manager. So it's kind of like, well, are those interim managers really going to persuade me to stay at Manchester United, where I can go elsewhere? I mean, obviously Lingard, I wouldn't say caused controversy, but it was quite interesting that he put on his Instagram story about it, obviously him celebrating a goal during his time at West Ham. And that, whether it's a cue to, I quite fancy going back to West Ham. They're actually doing quite well this season compared to Manchester United, and they seem like, more of a close-knit group, if you will, and that. So obviously it's going to be interesting in that sense. Other players that might gain from this, maybe like, Eric Bailly, Alex Telles, players that haven't, like you said, players that haven't really featured that much for Manchester. Even someone like Jadon Sancho, because let's face it, but Jadon Sancho at Manchester United isn't the same Jadon Sancho we've seen in a Borussia Dortmund shirt. And all right, the argument there is obviously the Premier League's much harder than the Bundesliga. Don't get me wrong, but like Jadon Sancho was tearing it apart in the Champions League for Borussia Dortmund against pretty big and good clubs, and obviously he had some games against Bayern Munich as well where he performed phenomenally against them. So obviously it's a good start for him. In terms of players that could be in trouble, obviously Ollie's favourite duo, McFred, I think they could be in a bit of trouble. But then again, you never know. New manager might come in, might get something different out of them and something better out of them. So it could actually work in a another different way. I don't think the fans would like it particularly much, but but then another thing is that obviously if the players start performing now that Ollie's gone, obviously again they're gonna have to shoulder some blame. It's kind of like, well, why didn't you perform like that under Ollie as well? So it certainly is going to be an interesting one on that point of view.
Yeah, Barnes, what about you? Do you think there's going to be some within the squad? Will there be rumblings of, oh, this is actually my chance to stake a claim in the starting 11, or a very poor starting 11? Let's remind ourselves, and
playing poorly, playing
poorly.
You'd expect a lot more of them in terms of who are the winners and losers. It's quite interesting actually, because just making the comparison of Conte moving to Tottenham, I was watching the Tottenham Leeds game, and the team that Conte's been picking was pretty much exactly the same as the team that Nuno was. I mean, it's changed formation, but from a playing personnel, they're very similar. So I think it's maybe not necessarily as bad as you think for the sort of current Ollie favourites, like your McTominay, Fred, because more often than not, the new manager doesn't come in and then just change every player instantly. I think every player, or you'd hope anyway, every player will have a chance to show what they can do under new management. Obviously, sometimes you get the situations where things don't work out, like when Jose Mourinho came in at Tottenham. It looked like Dele Alli might sort of revive his career, and that lasted for about 2 games. So there are those kind of things that can happen. I think maybe McTominay, Greenwood, some of the younger English players, Wan-Bissaka maybe, the younger English players that I think Ollie's shown like a lot of faith in. Even you could include Harry Maguire in that. Ollie's shown a lot of faith in them. And let's face it, I don't know, this is partly Ollie's fault because he's consistently put them in the firing line, keeps putting them out on the pitch even though they're out of form. But at the same time, they haven't delivered either. And a new manager might not be as sympathetic to those players when they come in. So it'd be interesting to see how their careers progress. It really depends. It depends who they get. It depends if they get someone who wants to completely change things up. Anything could happen. I think Paul Pogba, on the last point, is an interesting one because if he is going to leave, then whether you're an interim manager or a long-term manager, there isn't really much point in keeping him past January if he's not going to stay. Like, what's the point in playing someone who doesn't want to be there? I mean, I think if it was me and I was manager, he'd be first name on the team sheet. But I'm not the manager, and not yet. Clearly, Paul Pogba is a, I said divisive figure, at least amongst the fan base and even wider football. So if he doesn't want to sign a contract, can you really justify picking him in the team when you could be playing maybe younger players or someone like Donny van de Beek who's on a longer contract, who's probably...
I feel the interim manager has a free hand with Pogba, right? If
they do, yeah.
They have Pogba's not in a great position, I feel, which is an interesting one. And I just like how you talked about young English players and you included Harry Maguire in that, I think, who's 28, and also Scott McTominay, who's Scottish.
Yeah.
So
in defence of Ash, to be fair, Gary Neville did come out and say Harry Maguire's future of Manchester.
Yes.
Scott McTominay is from Lancaster. I'm sorry, I'm not having that he's Scottish.
There we go.
He went. He used to play where I used to go to uni.
Drop the Mac.
He's just Scott Tominay. Yeah,
Tominay.
Young British players.
There we go.
Who's old.
There we go. And Harry Maguire. And just a final sort of tongue-in-cheek segment here about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Where do you reckon, genuinely, because I was thinking about this earlier, where would his next job be? I don't know what level of manager he is. I have no idea, genuinely no idea. He could go mid-table Premier League, or he could go literally like low-end Championship. I genuinely have abroad somewhere like 3rd Division Romanian League, and that wouldn't surprise me. I genuinely have no idea where Ollie could go next. I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts on that.
He'll probably replace Phil Neville in Miami.
It's very difficult, isn't it? I have no idea where he would go.
I would say I've been saying whenever going back to that pod where we had that manager list and we were all saying how good is the ex-manager, who's better than who. I think it's where is this man? If this manager just gets sacked tomorrow, where would they end up? Is a great sort of reading on how good a manager
good barometer.
they are. Yeah, a good barometer. And I'm genuinely same as you, Tag. I have no idea. Back to the Norwegian league, maybe we can take over Molde or that team that smashed Roma 7-1. Maybe we can
Bodo
go to them.
Glimt.
Bodo
Yeah.
Glimt,
Yeah.
although that I don't think they have a vacancy at the moment. Dynamo Tbilisi, someone like that. I don't know. I could go anywhere. Like
Let's
who
throw
knows?
some names. Let's throw some
Let's throw some
Europa
teams
League
out.
group stage names out.
Yeah.
Cluj
Cluj,
in
yeah.
Romania.
Apoel Nicosia.
I can't see him being
anyway.
in the Premier League. To
I
be honest.
can't see him. I can't see him there. I
Nah.
don't know. Chris, any ideas where he could go next?
Like, to be fair, I did say it in Miami as a joke, but I think like he could generally end up there because obviously Beckham owns the club and that. And to be fair,
Ooh, David
obviously
Beckham.
living in America and that, I'm sure Ollie would quite like that. But yeah, no, I think I sort of like agree with Barnes. You could see him like go back to Molde. I think it'd be for like the third time as manager, go back to somewhere like Molde, or even like just managing like another like Scandinavian club, like something like Copenhagen.
Ooh.
Or like Malmo, even though Malmo got John Dahl Thomason as their manager.
Great
I can
player.
see him maybe going back to Scandinavia.
Cardiff have a vacancy. I'm pretty sure Sean
no.
Morrison's isn't the interim coach currently. Actually, might
What
I
is it
think
with
actually
interim managers?
he might have been actually recently
Yeah.
given the job full time.
It's Steve Morrison, isn't it? That's the interim manager. Obviously, Sean Morrison's their captain, and then Steve Morrison.
I thought it was like a player manager situation, but I might be wrong. I
No,
back Chris on this.
No, I thought it was Steve Morrison, the old S House striker.
It is Steve
And-
Morrison. Chris is correct.
And James Morrison's the singer, right?
Yeah,
Okay, let's make that clear.
and Morrison is a supermarket.
Morrison's is a supermarket. Okay, this is good. This is good for everyone on the pod listening. Just make sure you don't mix your Morrisons up. You don't want to do that.
No one wants that.
No one wants that. Let's go away from United. Everyone's going to be talking about it. I don't think this isn't the last that we're going to talk about Manchester United on this podcast and the managerial comings and goings. But we are worried for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let's see where he ends up. Maybe he'll join Steve Bruce watching the cricket somewhere. Who knows? Anyway, Premier League review. We went live just as the Spurs game finished. Did it finish 2-1 in the end to Spurs?
It did.
Spurs 2-1 against Leeds. There were many other football games in the Premier League this weekend. But let's start with something that we said we would discuss in last week's pod, which was Norwich. The rise of Norwich City is happening with Dean Smith as coach or manager or whatever it is, interim or not. I have no idea. He could be interim. Everyone's interim nowadays. But Dean Smith, is he going to lead Norwich to safety, Chris?
Well, that's the thing. Obviously,
It's a very loaded question.
Yeah, you've got the two people on the pod that called Norwich their dark horses
Well, there
for
you
the
go.
season, and maybe this is where that comes full circle. I mean,
Yeah.
I do think for Norwich, I do think Dean Smith is a brilliant appointment for them because, like, he did do a great job at Aston Villa. You know, taking them from the lower depths of the Championship. Obviously, he got them promoted. Like that's the thing. Like he took over mid-season, and he got them promoted via the playoffs and that, and he kept them in. He kept them in the Premier League. All right, they were a bit lucky to stay in the Prem because obviously there was that whole ghost goal, and that with Aston Villa against Sheffield United, and then he had a brilliant following season. And obviously, this season it didn't work out for him at Aston Villa, but like obviously, like he said, he's taken the Norwich job because he thinks he can keep them up and that. And like you just look at the performance. Well, the players he brought back in, like I knew Farke had frozen out Billy Gilmore. I didn't realise Farke had frozen out Todd Cantwell as well. But he brought those two players back in, and Gilmore especially. Gilmore was phenomenal yesterday for Norwich, and there's players like Gilmore and Cantwell that are going to be absolutely key if Norwich are going to stay in the Premier League. But that's 2 wins from 2 now for Norwich. That's huge for them.
It is.
And I believe their next game is against Newcastle as well. I know they've got Newcastle pretty soon, and that. So if they start building momentum by beating teams that are going to be in and around them, I could generally see them staying up, and that. And obviously,
you're a damn liar, Chris. They have Wolves at home.
Oh, they have Wolves at home. I'm very
Damn
sorry.
liar.
Come on, Chris, sort yourself
Come
out.
on.
I apologise to everyone watching this and to you
Newcastle
guys
are, of
as well.
course, away to Arsenal in the early kickoff next week.
Part-time
Come on,
Arsenal fan, and I.
Sorry,
Come on.
carry on.
But yeah, no, I can see Dean Smith keep. Another important thing as well, obviously, they got to go out of your favourite Finnish striker, Tango. I've mentioned one Finnish striker on the pod earlier, Mikael Forsell, but obviously the all-time record goal scorer for Finland, Teemu Pukki.
He's not
got
Finnish,
a goal.
he's only 28.
Yeah,
Hey.
wow. Yay, good.
It is a Pukki party. It
Who's
really
better,
is.
Tang? Pukki or Forsell?
Pukki.
Who's a bigger Premier League legend?
Pukki.
This is what
Don't
people
need to
want to
finish
talk
the
about on
question.
the pod.
Don't want to finish the question. It's Teemu Pukki every day.
Do you know who Mikael Forsell played for in England? He played for 4 different clubs.
He played for Birmingham.
He did.
He played
Correct.
for Chelsea.
Yeah,
He
Chelsea.
did. Yeah, that's 2.
He also
2 more.
played for Newcastle. No,
Fulham.
I don't know. Fulham,
No,
maybe?
not Fulham. 1 London club, 1 Northern club. Northern club played very recently. May even have been on TV.
Middlesbrough.
It was in. They were on TV today.
Oh,
An up north club. Played Tottenham Hotspur.
oh, Leeds.
Good. Leeds, and yeah, he also played for Crystal Palace on loan. Scored quite a goal for them as well. Didn't know that.
Very rogue from.
I'm going
Mikael
Pukki
there.
as well though. Pukki over Forsell.
It's a Pukki party indeed, and I agree with Chris in terms of Dean Smith being a really good appointment for Norwich. I know Lampard was touted, wasn't he? But I feel like they're just playing. I don't know why he was touted for the Norwich job. I just feel like because Villa were getting Gerrard in, they just wanted to. I was half expecting Scott Parker and Owen Hargreaves to come in for some managerial roles. Just bringing all England central midfielders.
Well,
really.
Michael Carrick's in on interim basis.
Exactly, Michael Carrick's there. Paul Scholes too busy stuck in toes, so he's not going to be getting there. But all the England central midfielders are going to be Premier League managers. But Barnes, you did put Norwich as your dark horse. Do you think Dean Smith's a good appointment? And do you think Pukki will be a 20-goal a season striker in the Premier League and keep them up?
Yes and no.
In what order? In what?
Yeah, that's the key. I think Dean Smith is a good appointment, although it's always weird when a manager gets sacked and then like a week later they're just at another club. Like imagine that being Dean Smith.
It's very weird, isn't it?
1 minute you're in Birmingham,
weird.
managing Aston Villa, and then transition, bam, you're in Norwich managing someone at the bottom
plane
of the
to
league.
Norwich. Everyone gets a plane to Norwich.
I bet he did get a plane from Birmingham to Norwich. Apologies, Dean Smith, if you didn't. Maybe got the train. But it is a good appointment with Dean Smith. I think, assuming they do go down, he is someone who can bring teams out of the Championship back into the Premier League. And I think the fixture, let's face it, the fixture list for Norwich has been horrendous. And it's made me and Chris look stupid because they've lost loads of games and they had their confidence shattered because they've had such a difficult run of games at the start of the season. And then to then recover from that, it's been tough. I mean, we can talk. They got poor players. We spoke on this podcast before about the Grant Hanleys of this world, and that they haven't improved their squad since they were last in the Premier League. But they could stay up. I mean, look at the other teams around them. They're not exactly doing really good things. So as we said before, there's quite a lot of teams that aren't that good in the Premier League this season. So could they stay up? Maybe. Do I think they'll stay up? Probably not. But ultimately, if they give Dean Smith time, I think maybe if they come back a third time, bounce back again the next season or the season after next, then they might be slightly better than they are now. But I feel that's quite a prediction long down the road. But ultimately, I think it is a good appointment, yeah.
Good. Dean will be happy when he hears this. He'll be very happy. Also, Steven Gerrard won his first game at the expense of Brighton. The Sexy Seagulls stuttering a little bit. They've lost their third game of the season. Palace have only lost 2 this season, which is great. They've drawn 7, Palace. They're the division's draw specialists. But still, I watched bits of this game, but Steven Gerrard gets his first win, Chris. What Where are Villa? Let me check where Villa are on the table for you, so I can give you an informed question. They're 50. They're 15th. They are how many points? 4 points off the relegation zone now. What do you think? Do you think Gerrard is going to prove himself at Villa? Prove made the right choice?
I mean, obviously it's a fantastic start by beating a team that you thought were going to get in the Champions League at one point, Mr. Tang.
I still think that. Still present tense.
I think you're a bit deluded there, aren't you? But
they're level on points with United, and they're a great club.
Yeah, but let's not have a Mikel Arteta, Jurgen Klopp falling out on the pod like they did yesterday. Yeah, no, like I said, like terrific win for Steven Gerrard, and like just got like too fair. Gerrard himself said it on his interview after the game yesterday. He just said, "Yeah, we've won today, but we got to build on this. We got to build because." Like those 2 goals did come in like the last 10 minutes as well. I mean, it was a brilliant taken goal from Ollie Watkins, and it was an instinctive.
Tyron Mings scored, didn't he?
Yeah, to be fair, it was an instinctive finish from Mings, and that I don't think it helped that Brighton gave a Premier League debut to Jason Steele either. Yeah. Star of the first season of Sunderland Till I Die.
What a documentary!
And that, But yeah, no. Like I said, I can see Gerrard doing well at Villa. I mean, he done well at Rangers. Obviously, in a way, like, all right, they are different, but it is quite similar in a way that they're both like clubs like massive fan bases and high expectations. And Gerrard done well at Rangers under those certain sort of circumstances. I can see him doing quite well at Aston Villa as well. And like, I think like he wouldn't have taken the job if the board didn't say to him, "We're going to give you a bit of money in January as well," because I can see him like bringing a few players like in and that. Like it wouldn't surprise me if one of the players he brought in from Rangers. I know a lot of people jump to like either like Alfredo Morelos, Ryan Kent, but one player I could see him bringing in from Rangers is Borna Barisic, the left back, and that Croatian international gets loads of assists and that, and well, he fits Steven Gerrard's sort of like style of football. And that's the thing as well with Gerrard is that you can see that he has implemented a quite good standard of football, and that you can tell like he's really like studied the game thoroughly and that. So I do think Gerrard is going to be a good appointment for Aston Villa, and yeah, they just need to build on the win they got over the Seagulls yesterday.
Oh, you don't have to bring it up. Barnes, Steven Gerrard wins his first game. Do you think he'll kick on? Do you think it's this managing lark is easy in the Premier League for him?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know how good Villa. I don't know how good Villa are. I thought coming into the season they do quite well. They're not doing very well. I don't know what their expectations are. I don't know what the fans really expect because honestly, I can't see them going further than what I said this before, 7th or 8th. So I'm not really sure what Gerrard, like how good can Gerrard make them? You know, at the end of the day, they're the same players. Is he going to make them loads and loads better? I feel like it's unlikely. It all just feels like the wider narrative that Gerrard's just there. I mean, he got asked in his one of the opening questions in his interview at Aston Villa was about the Liverpool job. Like, it's just so angers me so much. Yeah. It's kind of made me feel that I want Gerrard to do badly at Aston Villa just so that Liverpool job doesn't happen because the narrative's so annoying.
So I want him to take the Everton job. I want Steven Gerrard with the scarf above his head.
Yeah, that'd be seen. To fair, like in fairness to Gerrard, he did shut down that reporter quite quickly, didn't he? He did say, "I'm not using this as a stepping stone for Liverpool." I think he's got to say that, really, hasn't he? But
yeah, he's got.
Yeah. It's just that I don't know anything about Gerrard. I won't pretend that I watched any of really the Rangers games. That obviously they won the league, but as far as I'm aware, I think they've been quite good for the last couple of years. Maybe could have won the league the year before. It's always difficult to judge how good a manager is coming from Scotland. I mean, it's the same. You know, we joke and laugh at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he won the league in Norway and came to manage Manchester United. I mean, is the Norwegian league winning the Norwegian league that much difference to winning the Scottish league? Not really, I wouldn't say. Other than it's closer, so people know more about it. But no, it just seems Gerrard just seems to have. Everyone seems to think he's a good manager, and I know he obviously he did win with Rangers, but this is my personal bias because I haven't watched any of his game. I don't really see what all the hype is about. But I guess Aston Villa is his chance to show it, right? He's got an opportunity now to show people like me who are skeptical what he can do. And I think we just got to see where it goes really the rest of the season.
Very interesting. Gerrard skeptical. That's what we all are on this pod. Did you guys want to talk about any other Premier League? We've been going on for 55 minutes or so. Is there anything else in the Premier League which you would just want to talk about and discuss whilst we have the platform to do so on this Sunday evening?
Well, I prefer not to speak about the Arsenal game because
that was terrible. Oh yeah,
it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. Obviously, Chelsea brilliant victory over Leicester. Even though Thomas Tuchel rated the performance 7.5 out of 10, which I thought was a bit. Colin Thomas, that's a little bit too harsh. Going away from home against a good team in Leicester. Scoring 3 goals, getting a clean sheet.
Did a decent job. Yeah.
And then, like to be fair, like it was goals galore, weren't it, in the Prem? I know. Klopp
it really was.
Klopp joked how he might watch Match of the Day for the first time in a while on his Match of the Day interview, which is quite funny. In that, but I don't know if Barnes wants to say anything
36
on the mighty
goals.
Burnley. Does Barnes want to say something on Burnley drawing 3-3, entertaining game and wants at Turf Moor?
Cornet is good. No idea why he's at Burnley, but he's a good player. Still don't understand that.
Really riveting analysis there.
Newcastle are still bad.
Good.
They drew 3-3 home to a Brentford side that are really struggling with injuries.
Although Joey Linton.
That game really reminded me of Eddie Howe's first season in the Premier League at Bournemouth, where they were not bad going forward, but defensively they was all over the place and just conceding goals left, right, and centre. That's what that game sort of reminded me.
At least it's more entertaining, though, right? I mean, if you're going to go down, it's better to like go down fighting and scoring goals than go down being completely
in a blaze of fire with the car driving backwards on fire. Fingers up in the air, we're going down, but you're coming with us the majority of the way. I think that's fine. I'll take that if I was a Newcastle fan.
I still think they're going to go down, by the way.
Newcastle. I think they might. I can't see them.
Yeah. Well, 12 games they haven't won a game. That's
I don't think it's Eddie Howe. It won't be due to Eddie Howe's poor management either.
No,
I just think they're bad.
No, they're just bad. The Arsenal and United. I think both. When I watch both of them, as a defender myself, I look at their defending. I think there are so many things that Arsenal and United could do that could improve them so much more. Like I can see stuff on TV where I'm just like, oh, why aren't you marking it? Why aren't you going out to him? What are you doing passing there? So that guy should come here. Even things to me as a non-football manager, but just someone who consumes football, there are so many little things that I can see, especially I've been a bit too harsh on Arsenal because they've been okay, to be fair, in the last few weeks. But there are so many things that I can see which are like, this would immediately improve you. You wouldn't have conceded that goal if you just passed it to your player. Things like that. It's there's very simple stuff, and you don't need to be a world-class manager to do it. Maybe you need to, I don't know, score a goal in 1999 to win a European Cup to do.
Do you not think though, Tang, that a lot of it is, especially with Arsenal, I get the sort of feeling a lot of it's mentality. Like they've gone through these seasons of being quite poor now for quite a few seasons, and then when they go to Anfield, I just don't believe that they were going to win. And then once they conceded the first goal, they were like Liverpool dominated, of course, but up until Liverpool scored the first goal, I thought they were in the game. Then they did all right. I think they conceded that first goal, and then all the sort of, oh, we're going to lose, it's Liverpool away, so it's a bit of a free hit. And then, and that happens quite a lot, I think, with teams at Anfield. They go there,
especially
they hold out for a while, and then, once that happens, once they concede the first goal, they sort of, lose faith, and they just sort of get completely overrun. Apart from Brighton, so they came back to get that 2-2.
It all comes full circle, baby.
With Manchester United, I'm not sure if it is a similar issue, because I think that's just poor coaching. would be what I would say, basically, because they make decisions in defence that make no sense. Like Ed picked out that Wan-Bissaka when they played against, was it the Liverpool game, where he just kept inexplicably pressing people for no reason, and their back line was all like staggered, so even the centre backs weren't like dropping together. One was going up, like Lindelof was going back, Harry Maguire was engaging. I just seemed a coaching problem. Whereas I think Arsenal, because of their poor recent seasons, they got a bit of a mental block that they need to get over when playing away at the big boys.
Anyway, that's a lovely bit of insight there.
I just do want to quickly say, as much as we scathed Manchester United, brilliant performance from Watford.
Yes, let's also say that it was a good performance from Watford.
It was a brilliant performance from Watford. They battled for. I mean, it could have been more. It could have been much more. I mean, it was a couple of poor penalties from Ismail Assar. Let's put it that way. And that, but like Emmanuel Dennis was quality. Josh King quality. Tom Cleverley had a great game against his old club. Also, shout out João Pedro as well, because I think his father, because obviously he was in tears when he scored it. I think it was because his father passed away a couple of weeks before, and that. So I can imagine that was quite an emotional moment for him, scoring against pretty much scoring the goal that pretty much sealed it.
Yep.
And then obviously they got that other one from Dennis as well that just sealed the ice on the cake. Assist from the cycling goalkeeper Ben Foster as well.
The Fozcast will be pumping when the next episode of they go out, which is good. Anyway, let's close up shop here today for this Sunday evening. Sunday trading hours. We'll finish a bit early. I say early, we've been going for about an hour and a minute. Any more sort of stuff that we want to talk about, non-football related, whatever. Barnes, who's going to win the F1 World Championship? Hamilton or Verstappen?
If I please gamble responsibly, Lewis Hamilton will win the F1 World Championship.
Even though he is 8 points behind Verstappen with 2 races to go. Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi. Yes.
Where sport comes to life, the real venues of great sport,
Yes, they were in Qatar today.
Saudi, and they're in Qatar today. They go to bar. Isn't it great?
I can feel Chris's oil money hatred boiling.
Three of my favourite destinations.
You just couldn't pick a better sporting destination. I can't wait to go to Jeddah.
The World Cup was at the F1 earlier today. I don't know if you saw that on the grid walk.
I saw Peter Schmeichel was there.
Yeah.
Talking
David
about Ollie.
Beckham was there too.
Great! Of course he was.
The sport ambassador for Qatar himself, old Ben.
Yeah, there's some guy who was just walking on the grid with the World Cup. Yeah,
exactly.
I know. Oh dear.
More importantly, I'm a Celebrity's back tonight.
I'm a Celebrity's back.
David Ginola's on it for the football fans.
We were talking. Me and Chris were talking pre-pod before you joined, Ash. That I didn't know the I'm a Celeb lineup, but I could guess it by purely going off the fact that there'd be one footballer, one Olympian, a radio presenter, a reality star, someone from Emmerdale, probably someone from EastEnders. I can't remember, an old person. I think Richard Madley's going to be that old person this year. And it's just the same people every year, and then one for the ladies and then one for the men as well. A bit of eye candy for both.
Do you work at ITV, Tang? Is that
I don't know, maybe. The ITV Hub, brought to you by ITV. I don't know how that advert goes.
Something like that.
Something like that.
ITV Hub brought to you by the Early Bar Football Podcast.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Anyway, we will we'll draw it to a close there. Fantastic chatting to you. We do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. No longer Gunnar Solskjaer anywhere, but his house, I guess, or at the cricket with Steve Bruce. Who knows? But thank you for those who are watching and listening and doing all that good stuff with it. 52 subscribers. Broke through the 50 subscriber goal. Couldn't get my words out there. We're now on the road to 75, baby, which is great. So please do follow, like, subscribe, ring that bell, turn notifications on, and join us to 75. Tell your friends, tell your family, whoever's listening. Tell it to someone to subscribe. That's what we should start doing.
Too fair, us getting to 50 is bigger news than Ollie's getting sacked anyway. So
that's a huge claim. That's a massively huge
we want
claim.
to make it even bigger. Get us to 75. Come on, raise the roof.
Pyres on me, boys. Pyres on wheels, boys and girls. Pyres on me.
Anyway, it's goodbye. It's goodbye from Chris. And it's a waving goodbye from Ash Barnes as well. And it's a waving goodbye from me. See you all very soon. I don't know when, but soon. Goodbye.